90% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get punked, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia. AB skinheads with big giant swastikas. Pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters gon' move. Whatever click you choose, you better.
All right, what's cracking, y'all? Y'all already know what it is, man. It's your boy 16 to Life, man. And today I got a very special guest in the house with me, OG Bam from Compton, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm life is good, man. I'm enjoying life, brother.
It is definitely a pleasure to have you on my show.
Thank you.
So for those who may not know about you, man, why don't you give us a little bit of information about yourself? Tell us where you from, where you grew up, and that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm OG Bam from Compton Front Hood, man. I grew up, born on the east side on Low Bottoms in LA, moved to Compton when I was a kid. Really raised in Front Hood all my life. Started gang banging in 1971. I joined my hood in 1971. In and out of jail all my life since the age of 12. This is the longest I've ever been on the streets, man, going on 5 years. This year be 5 years I'll be out. Growing up in Compton was, I had fun growing up in Compton. I don't know how to answer that one right there, but I had fun growing up in Compton. You know what I mean?
So you say you started banging around 71. That's right about the time that Crips and Blood started basically, huh?
Exactly. I'm an OG baby Crip from my neighborhood, man. When my hood first come out, it wasn't called Front. OFH don't originally stand for Original Front Hood. It stand for Original Front Hustler. My generation brought the OFH in the game. When my hood first come out in 71, we was called Front Brothers Incorporation, but we was Crips. When my big homies graduated from high school, they wasn't gang banging no more. The founders of my hood stopped gang banging when they got out of high school. So my generation in 1975, we came with Original Front Hustlers.
So for those of us, man, who may not, be from Cali or not familiar with the dynamics of how it was back then in the early initial stages of Cripping and stuff, what was it like, man? Describe what was it like just growing up in that element, in that environment.
Oh, 16 to Life. Check this one out, homie. When I first joined the Crip, it was like everybody wanted to be a Crip. It was like everybody wanted to have a big wheel. I said that on the Kev Max show. Everybody wanted to be a Crip, man. And gang banging is a choice, but I wanted to be a Crip. I wanted to be a Crip. I wanted to build a name for myself. And in turn, involving around that, I did build a name for myself. I built a hell of a name for myself. I wanted to build a name in myself where I pumped the fear of God in somebody. Today, I don't think like that. To pump the fear of God in somebody make somebody want to do something to you. Either they're going to kill you or put you in jail.
You say when you was growing up, you wanted to be a Crip. What was so alluring about seeing the other Crips that made you want to get your Crip on? Because I got viewers a little bit of everywhere, and a lot of them don't understand. What was so intriguing that made you want to be a Crip?
Well, I had big cousins from 165 block. That's Nutty Block now. They call it Nutty Block. But at first it was the grannies in 165, but they all shared the same neighborhood. They homies from the same hood. My big cousins, Big Ollie and Lil Ollie, was OGs from 165, That's why I met Mac Thomas at. That's why I met Raymond Washington at. So Salty, resting in peace. Big Ant, Sumo them, Alvin Trasman, Mike Trasman them. So I was intrigued by how they conducted themselves and how they carried themselves. I wanted people. When Raymond Washington stepped in around, man, everybody stood at attention. So I wanted that same type of reputation. When I stepped in the room, all eyes on me, like Tupac say, all eyes on me. You understand what I'm saying? And I took that and ran with it. But at the same token, I don't want nobody to misconstrue what I'm saying. Raymond and them didn't want us to become gang members. Them dudes used to get on me for ditching school. I couldn't ditch school and Raymond and Mac Thomas and my big cousins, them, my big homies, them see me. If they came in the neighborhood and see me ditching school, they'd get on us and make us go back to school. And that's how we had to get in. But gang banging is a choice. So I chose, I took that path. I said, well, I want to be a Crip, man. And it's like I was saying, everybody wanted to be a Crip. That's why I commend Pirus. Pirus did not turn Crips. Everybody wanted to be a Crip. Then you had those that said, no, man, we're going to be anti-Crip. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. And so, you know, of course, that was way before the days of social media and stuff. You know, nowadays, social media, rappers, nowadays, social media and rappers, they'll have these younger individuals wanting to join hoods and stuff that they didn't even grow up in and stuff like that. So was back then, was people coming from other neighborhoods to join neighborhoods, or how did that happen?
Hey, basically, man, when I first started gang banging, it was the people inside of your own community that joined your own hood. You didn't have people coming from another side of the town wanting to join this neighborhood. You understand what I'm saying? That gradually jumped on. When it comes to the rappers and all that, watch this, man. Half of these rappers claiming hoods ain't even been to the hoods they claiming. They just claiming that. That's why I can't understand why you want to be a gang member when you got $1 million. Don't you know if I'd have had $1 million when I was 15 years old, man, I'd have stopped gang banging. If I'd have touched $1 million and it was legally $1 million, well, couldn't nobody take it from me, my Crip career would have stopped. I wouldn't have been wanting to be a gang member. Hey, check this out, 16 to life. Your boy don't respect nobody that's 18, 19, and their 20s that start gang banging. Gang banging is for kids, man. You start gang banging as a kid. Because I said this in one of my lives, man, and I hope people can grasp what I'm about to say, right? When I was a real active gang member, to a certain degree, I forgot I was black, brother. Because I was doing everything I did was to black people. I'm not a product of my environment. My environment is a product of me. I played a role in destroying the black community. The black community wasn't messed up. Gangs messed up the black community. So our environment is a product of us. We're not a product of our environment. When you came off the porch, your community was cool. I didn't grow up and it was people standing on the corner selling drugs. I didn't grow up and it was spray paint on the wall. I spray painted on the wall. I was a dude that stood on the corner and sold drugs. I was a part of the destructive group of tearing up my own community. You know what I mean? Easy 8, NWA wasn't the only ones put a bad name on, made Compton look like it was a bad image. I played a role in putting Compton on the map as being in the messed up light, having a bad image at people. Right.
Now, one thing I want to ask about is, did you grow up in a 2-parent home? And if so, how many of your other friends and homies and stuff had 2-parent homes?
I grew up in a 2-parent home, man. I grew up in a Black Brady bunch. My mother and father had 6 kids, right? My father worked for Farmer John's for 45 years and retired. My mother was supervisor of a bank called Security Pacific on Florence and Avalon at the Coney Nasta Wick building. When they closed that bank, my mother went and worked at the hospital, LAGH, General Hospital. She was a lab technician. I had homies that didn't have 2-parent homes. Some had mothers, just the mother was there, or their boyfriend was there. But we grew up, you couldn't tell. Watch this, man. Gang members do not join gangs because they come from broken homes. I never met nobody in my neighborhood or nobody in my generation that came from a broken home and wanted to become a gang member.
Right.
Gang banging is simply and purely a choice.
Right.
The news media and the white administration make them want to believe it. Well, that's why they join gangs. Then you get the blacks and Hispanics that jump and believe that myth of why we join gangs. No, man, check this out, man. I could not walk out my house with a blue rag hanging out my pocket. I couldn't walk out my house with my pants hanging off my butt. My parents was not allowing that. My daddy was my little league coach. My mother was a cheerleader coach with my little sisters that was cheerleaders and pop runners and all that. Again, I came up in a hell of a household, and all my homies, even the ones that didn't have a father at the house, their mothers were some great mothers. We did not come from a messed up environment.
And no, you know I think it's very important that you spoke on that, right? And the main reason that I asked you that is because I was born in 71. little after you, maybe 10 to 11 years after you. And I say that because I knew that back then when I grew up, the whole town was like a community and like a village. You know, if I was doing something down the street, that lady's mom or my homie's mom or father would whoop me, say something to me, and then call my mom, and I did it by the time I got home. Also, if I was hungry, I could go down the street, go in my friend's house, knock on the door, get something to eat, and all that. So they try to make it seem at times that we grew up in these environments that led us to gangbang, when I just believe that, you know, we was young, we made choices, the things that we was doing seemed fun, and before we know it, we're moving on up, doing more things, you know.
And you call that, watch this. When I grew up, man, it wasn't nothing. Whatever I did wrong in my neighborhood, I'd get a whooping before I get home. If I didn't get the whooping before I got home, my mom and daddy knew about what I did before I even got at the door. So my daddy was waiting in the living room with the belt to beat my butt. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
That goes to where it say a village raised a child. It takes a village to raise a child. When we grew up, that's how it was. The village raised a child. We knew if we disrespected any elder in our community, any grown person, we knew the consequences of disrespecting a grown person. When we got home, we got our butt whooped.
About what age did you start cripping?
I was 12. I was going on 12 years old. I was 11, finna be about 12. My birthday is in November. I was about to be 12 years old, man. When I joined Front Hood the next day at school, man, I thought I was the biggest cat in the school because I became a gang member.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I was already wearing a gang attire, croaker sacks, khakis, and ace deuces. That's the Crip attire. So I was ready. By the time I got to high school, when I got to Centennial High, man, I wanted Westside Pirus to know who Bam was.
And what was the first thing that landed you in the county jail in LA County?
The first time I went to LA County Jail, man, I went for assault off 410. Right, beat the case. Got out. Watch this. Wrote my name in my cell in 2600. Charlie 8. Wrote Bam, Front Hood Compton Trip on the wall. I got out after beating that case with assault off 410 in 1978. I got out and came right back in 2 weeks for shooting the dude. Went back to the same exact cell. Took my t-shirt off, dropped it in the toilet, got some water on it, and wiped my name off the wall. I say, ain't never write my name on no jailhouse wall because it ain't a myth. If you write your name in jail, you're going to come back and see your name. I caught some robberies in 1979. My mother bailed me out. I ended up coming to prison in 1980.
What was the dynamics like when you hit the county jail between the Hispanics and the blacks?
Well, when I first started going to the county jail, blacks and Mexicans did not beef. We didn't. We used to gamble against each other. Wasn't no racial tension in the county. Only racial tension was white boys. They was victims. They wouldn't fight back. They was getting beat up, getting robbed for their money, their shoes. Non-affiliates brothers was getting robbed for their shoes in the county jail. I never participated in robbing no dude for no shoes because I can't see me and you robbing somebody for one pair of shoes. You gonna wear one, I'm gonna wear one. When I first went to the county jail, you ain't gonna believe this. My first big homie I saw was Big Heron. I was in the same module with Big Heron, 26, 28. And Big Heron, even the first time I went to juvenile hall, Big Heron, resting in peace, was there. Grabbed me and embraced me and enlightened me to how to conduct myself in jail. I had one fight in the county jail with a dude named Mark, man. He was like Heron them days. This dude, me and him was squabbling. Me and him stole this Mexican dude candy, and I was eating the candy. And he kicked me, and I fired on him. Me and him get to squabbling. He gave me a black eye. This is right before Raymond Washington got killed, man. Raymond in the county for some traffic warrants or something. And Raymond then was coming back in court, and Raymond seen my eye. Raymond made me get out the child line, like, come back. We going back to the margin. Dude is trying to explain to Raymond what happened. Raymond them got on dude, but they didn't whoop dude ass because I lost the fight. They whooped dude ass because dude told me to steal in the county, and stealing is taboo.
Now you mentioned a name who I know very well, Big H. Big H happened to be my cellie. I've mentioned him several times in stories that I was talking about. Now, a lot of times when I say Big H, I see in the comments or Big Heron, people would think that I'm talking about the Heron who was associated with death row. but no, Big Heron was from the Grandies. So can you elaborate a little bit about Big Heron?
Huh?
I said, but can you elaborate a little bit about Big Heron and you know the man that you
Hey,
knew?
Big Heron, man, his son, Mama Helen, his brother Lil Heron. Big Heron was, listen to me, man. That's the only dude used to call my brother Inch, rest in peace, Lil Bam. Big Heron was my big homie. When I first went to the pen, he even told me, he said, man, you ain't even got to go up in there tripping. You was out here selling water, the Bloods, y'all ain't gonna have no problems. That's on. He told me never to get up under nothing. I got up under C.C.O. My big homie was C.C.O. too. My homies was generals in the C.C.O. And just imagine them being mad at me because I got up under C.C.O. I said, damn, if you don't, quite naturally, I'm gonna follow suit what my big homies is doing. Big Heron was one of the most respectful Crips in prison, man.
Yeah, Big Heron was
all Crips had a lot of love for Big Heron.
Yeah, he was a real cool dude, man.
I met him
in Salinas Valley, 1996, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who he was, hadn't heard of him. You know, he saw that I was a Crip. I didn't have a lot of homeboys around. I looked extremely young for my age. He asked me if I wanted to move in the cell with him, and he taught me a whole lot. And it wasn't until later that I even realized what a legend Heron was, you know, because like I say, I hadn't heard of him. I'm from maybe 2 hours away from Compton. So, you know,
yeah,
I didn't know who he was, man, but I immediately recognized the whole yard had a whole lot of respect. He pretty much ran the Crip car on the yard, not because he wanted to, but out of respect. You know, it was like people had elected him, you know, and then so as I'm seeing the respect and stuff, other people start people having for him, then I start realizing, okay, this dude is a real, you know, influence around here. That's what I would like to say. He was influential. You know, when something would happen a lot of times people would shoot him kites on the yard, asking his advice and all type of stuff, man. So yeah, shout out to Big Heron. I heard later on.
Yeah, he was that type of dude, man. I miss Heron, homie. Heron, even when we was on the streets before I ever came to prison, right? When Heron came out of YE, he came to see the big homie AB, my big homie AB, and they asked AB, said, man, what Lil Bam live at? Heron had a gray 67 Brougham then, burgundy interior, man, red interior, right? A Crip dude, right?
Right.
Came over to the house, man, him and Tada from Park Village, and he chopped it up with his little homie. Heron was like my big brother, man. From my very beginning of Crip career, Heron was one of the mentors in my Crip career. You understand what I'm saying? He guided me the right way, gave me some solid advice that I apply in my life today.
Right.
Because Heron was like that. And he watch this. When I tell people OG status and big homie titles is earned and not given, all you had to do is say what you just said when you was in Salinas Valley. He didn't nominate himself to be the shot caller of the yard. They gave Heron that title based on he wasn't a reactionary. He didn't think rational. He thought out how he wanted to do. He wasn't always with violence, but if he wanted the violence, he ain't had no problem. Say, let's bring it on.
Right.
But we can solve our problem in a diplomatic way, and that's how Big H was.
And another thing I remember about him, right? Every month he'd go to the store. I believe we could spend $140. He'd spend $140, and by the time he got to the cell, he'd be done passed out $40, $50 worth of stuff. Every single time, man. I say, Big H, man, why you always giving that stuff away? Oh, man, I just can't help it, man. You know, somebody asked me for something, I'm going to give it to him. You know, he was a real good-hearted dude, man.
And that's how he was. That's how he was. Exactly how he was. He was real generous. I remember when I got called down when I seen Marcellus, I was in Hot Park with him before he got all that time. He was on E-roll, I was on D-roll. And Heron asked in a kite, what you need? I said, man, send me a pack of cigarettes. Send me $100 and 5 packs of cigarettes. That was my big homie. You understand what I'm saying? You don't need to ask nobody on that road for nothing.
I just wanted to say that too. Somebody say, hey, Big H, let me get 2 suits. Big H would give him 10. You know, dude was extremely, extremely generous, man. And it taught me a whole lot of there too, man. I want to ask you, so when was the first time you hit the pen?
First year I went to the pen was 1980. I started at DVI.
Describe what was it like back then? And also, could you let everybody know what what the CCOs are, or who the CCOs are, and talk a little bit about that.
C.C.O. is a Crip organization called Consolidated Crip Organization. It came Viva Blue Magic. Big James Miller, BJ, rest in peace, from Harlem started Blue Magic. To keep things right, C.C.O. came about. I joined C.C.O. in Tracy. Meet Tim, they call him Big H2, Tim from Harlem. When I first got to Tracy, man, it was more Bloods than Crips. I seen Crips in the county jail. They got to Tracy, put a Bible in their pocket, took the blue rag out the pocket and put a Bible in the pocket. Didn't want to be a gang member no more. I seen Bloods in the county jail that was telling us they didn't gang bang. When I got to Tracy, they had red rags in their pocket. Now, you're going to have some dudes to speak that. I'm telling you, when I first drove into Tracy, Vanguards, BGFs, and Bloods had the line for us brothers, and BGFs, they had the line. Crips was deep, but we wasn't deep.
When you went to prison and you joined the CCO, how was that different from cripping on the streets? What did you learn as a CCO member?
I mean, all it was, when you say join, I got to, because a lot of people believe if you join something like you ain't from your hood. I was still confronted, although I was CCO. CCO, Blue Note, Bloodline, and UBN, it's nothing but rules, man. Structures is nothing but rules. And when you're a Crip in the blood and you join them organizations, you ain't got cut on. You just follow structure based on what's going on in prison. CCO was the best thing happened for Crips in prison. Anybody ever heard anything about CCO? We came with the business. CCO law was the Crip law. It's only a structure. It wasn't like if I'd have met you in prison, you'd be like, hey, where you from? Bam, I wouldn't have said I was from CCO. I'd have said, man, I'm from Florida. That's where I'm from. I'm from Compton, Crip.
What was the difference between the ideology of the CCOs and the Blue Notes?
Hey, watch this, man. That's a good ass question. Watch this. In all actuality, it wasn't a difference. CCO spoke red black literature, spoke Swahili. They say that's what BGFs do. But Blue Note spoke Swahili and red black literature. So it wasn't an ideology. It wasn't a difference. The difference was some people was hating and some people wasn't hating. That's the difference. When the jealousy came in effect, it was a jealous thing. It wasn't a difference of how we got our Crip on. You understand what I'm saying? If it wasn't for Big Heron, when Big Heron say step back, I step back. A lot of people believe Blue Notes disbanded CCO. They ain't disbanded us. We stepped back. And the way my big homie got it, he wrote me a letter. He said, man, we going at each other, man. That ain't how Crippin' did. Step back. I stepped back. I say this in other videos, not just on here. I said, Big Heron, once Big Heron say step back, I step back. See, I'm a grown ass man. I respected what my big homies, I respected the calls my big homies put out there. Because they didn't make the calls selfishly. They made them unselfish. They thought about everybody else in the Crip community. They didn't just think about themselves. And that's how Heron was. So when Heron say step back, I step back. Because my big homies was generals. I'm little Scory, bigger Scory from the 60s. So I had a lot of enemies within the Blue Notes based on Sumo, Heron, and Tabori now. You feel me? Big Heron, I had enemies because of my big homies because they were soldiers. To me, they were warriors. I'm a soldier. So that's it wasn't no different. The only difference was hating and jealousy, man. Right. That's the only difference.
Them crackers let me out the gate, now the pressure's on. What? We about to get this shit straight like a pressing cone. Okay. The wrong cat to get aggressive on. I bring the bitch up out of niggas while you think they got them dresses on. My reach long and that's the best type. To have some dirty white boys come and smoke you like a meth pipe. And leave your chest bright red like a fire truck. Kicking your mom's door at night, nigga, and tie her up. I'm wild as fuck and I'm respected by the new youth. I put this pistol in their ear like a Bluetooth. I blow their brains on their new coupe. And have red everywhere just like a function full of soup whoops. Tell your troops I deal with beef like a butcher. My 4-5 pump more guys than Ashton Kutcher. Line pusher, quick to bury your clown. Nigga, I stayed in the park like the merry-go-round. Get it?
The game greasy, bitch, the game need me. Oh, you niggas don't know my name. The game greasy, bitch, the game need me. I'm out here doing my thing. The game greasy, bitch, the game need me. I swerve in my own lane. The game greasy, bitch, the game